It sends me to the peak without no regret. You got no love without no love. You got no regret without no regret. You got no love. A melody where I belong in this life.
What is up, Level Up Nation, and welcome to the Thursday, September 10th edition of Level Up Live, your home for gaming and esports news, brought to you by OTN Media. My name is Fiasco. You can call me John, and right next to me, that's the king of the courtside, His Royal Highness, the courtside king, my good friend Joey. What's up, buddy? It's 4-day for some of us. We only got one. Yeah, I went back to work on Tuesday. Well, I only had Monday off. Well, I'm counting tomorrow. It's brutal. It's a brutal 4-day work week. We'll say that much. Nation, follow the brutality of the 4-day work week by following the show on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Level Up Live. That is at LvLUP Live. And while you're at it, Follow the adventures of the Courtside King and follow Joey on Twitter at Courtside King and follow myself, John. Hi, it's me, Fiasco. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter as well at Fiasco. If you're watching here live on Twitch, obviously below those mugshots you're currently staring at, those are our handles. Feel free to shoot the show and us a follow as well. And Nation, as always, if you do wish to listen to the podcast version of the show, the Level Up Podcast is available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And since you're listening to the podcast, why not leave us a review as well, as reviews do go a long way to help grow and reach new listeners. When you do have a moment, we would appreciate you leaving a really cool review. I'm going to put the bar at 3 stars and above. Everything below, just don't even worry about. 3 stars is the basement for this week. 5-star would be preferable, but hey, leave us your honest review. Feedback is always welcomed. Nation, today is September 10th, and that is World Suicide Prevention Day. Level Up Live and OTN Media join with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention to continue to bring awareness to mental health in our communities. Right now, it's more important than ever that we be there for each other. There are simple steps we can all take to care for our mental health and prevent suicide. From learning the warning signs and knowing what to do if you are worried about someone, to having a real conversation with a friend, to bringing education programs to your community, we all have a role to play in saving lives. Together, we keep going. To learn more information from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, visit afsp.org/keepgoing. All right, Joey, we have a packed show today. What in the world are we hitting on this week? Oh, pardon me, this episode. Oh my gosh, Apple and Epic back at it again. That's going to be outstanding. All right, Joey, we have our topics. Now we need to get to the best part of the entire show, of course, the drink of choice. So, Joey, I believe, statistically speaking, this is episode 190 of the program. So for the 190th time, what is your beverage, sir? Classy. I like it. Very, very feng shui. I don't think that's the right terminology I'm going for there. Joey, it's a Thursday. I'm releasing the Kraken again. So I'm doing a little rum and coke action. 32 ounce glass style. Do not at me. So I'm excited that no one can make fun of me for rocking the seltzer. Cool. Thank you, chat. You should hear Joey now. My apologies.
Oh, nice.
It is a massive Thursday. Just a recap real quick, Joey, for the live listeners here on the show. What are we talking about again today?
Well, guys, you don't have to hear me mess around with my fantasy football that I forgot to set before today's show. We're talking about some CSGO updates, some roster updates in particular, some unique partnerships that bring a little bit of a different spin from what we normally cover. Xbox announcements. The Series S has been announced. Podcast listeners, you get this twice today. Congratulations. We're talking price. We're talking pre-order date, release date, all that good action. Apple versus Epic Round 4, and much, much more.
I would forget to unmute you, Joey. My apologies. Joey, Courtside King on Twitter. Make sure you follow him as well. Yeah. So that's everything we got. Joey's drinking bourbon, right?
The bourbon.
The bourbon. Okay, cool. So I think we have everything covered. Again, my apologies again for not unmuting his microphone on OBS. My sincere apologies. Joey, we have our topics. We have our beverages. You are unmuted. So I think that means we can get into gaming and esports news. So let's go.
I am unmuted, and I think I'm just going to submit this lineup and be done with it.
While you're doing this, I'm going to go fiddle around with my lineup real quick.
I know this Thursday night football thing is just going to throw me off here. I'm going to have to remember to do these ahead of time.
Since
it's only the first week.
We are playing against each other, though. So there's a little.
I have not looked at that lineup yet either. I think that one's good to go.
Oh, wow. You're not even paying attention to the OTN league. That's fair. That's,
No, I am. I checked that one, I think, earlier in the day. So we'll see. Anyway, guys, this is esports. This is not sports. You can find that sports coverage on Discord, and that's discord.me/OTN. But for now, let's talk roster moves, John. We're going to kick it off with C9, that beautiful flag you have there in the background. While you're wearing a competing jersey, it's going to work for today's show.
You can't see it. It's fine.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, well, I mean, Monster versus Red Bull. Cloud9. They have added Henry G as their new CS:GO GM. Kassad is their head coach. This got announced earlier in the week. I believe it was Monday or Tuesday. Since those announcements, we've also got their first player. It is going to be in-game leader Alex coming in on a 3-year contract worth just over $1.6 million. Little coin in the esports realm. Will not be required to stream as part of the deal. That is a big deal. A lot of these players that get signed to different organizations are required to, some of them are written in for like ads, to do ads on a regular basis. Some are written in to have to stream a certain amount of hours a week. It sounds like, at least with Alex's contract for streaming, he can still do it, but he's not going to be required to do it. One of the other big things with this announcement, John, is this all came from Henry. So the new GM that came out, he posted this when he signed the player. He said, this is who we're signing. This is what we're signing him for. This is the length. This is the role he's going to have on the team. All of these details. I think this is the most transparent deal we might have ever seen so far in esports, and I think it's a huge move forward for both C9 as an organization, CSGO as a scene, and esports in general.
Yeah, it's really groundbreaking, Joe. You hit the nail right on the head. This does not happen in esports. You do not get to know player salaries. You do not get to know the term of the deals. If you follow League of Legends, you know that like max contracts there are usually 2 years, maybe 3 for the very, very, very lucky person, but you don't know who those players are. You don't know the terms of the contract. You don't know how much they're being signed for. There's a lot that is not known in the realm of esports when it comes to roster moves. This is such a massive, earth-shattering move by being so incredibly transparent of what C9 values this player as, that now every other CSGO player can sit here and be like, look, I know Henry. I'm sorry, Kassad, right? Or Cassid?
Henry is the GM.
No, I know. Yeah, Kassad's the coach. Okay. Yeah, so, pardon me. IGL Alex on the 3-year contract. Everyone now is going to sit here and be like, look, I can play up the same level that Alex is. I've won the same amount of titles. This is what Cloud9 values them at. This is a starting point for me as well. It's great for players. It's great for organizations. And it's great for fans to really have that open conversation about, what's a smart move for your organization. We see it a lot in traditional sports. And I actually really, really like this move going into esports, not just from the transparency standpoint, but it's kind of a reflection of where esports currently is in society when we're at this point where we can sit here and say, hey, look, we're going to open our books. We're going to show you what we got. We're going to show you who we're signing for how much. This is what we're willing to do to make our team competitive for you, the fans, not just our organization. I love that. I love the transparency here.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I think one area, like if we want to look at a little negative side, the negative potential side of this, a little devil's advocate on it. We both like this move. We both like the transparency with it. I think on a lower end organization level, so like those up and coming organizations that are not a Cloud9, that are not a Fnatic, that are not a Team Liquid, this could end up hurting them a bit when players start to see the differences in salaries that some players are making.
Yeah, and you always, I mean, ego is always going to be something that comes into it. You're gonna have players that are going to get offended. The fact that Alex is making 1.6 mil over 3 years, they're going to sit there and be like, hey, that's not fair. I want to renegotiate my deal. I think that's a good thing. You have every right as a player to do that. Like, you need to know your worth as a person. Yeah, and feelings are going to get hurt. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, this is still a business. Esports is a multi-billion-dollar business. I believe it's almost multi-billion, if not already. That is, it got there for a reason. It didn't get there, by paying the least amount for quality talent to put on a show, to put on entertainment for the viewers. They got there by getting the best, and the best comes with a price tag. And look, if you're a CSGO pro or an esport pro, and this contract has you hurt, it's time to renegotiate. Simple as that. It's all business, baby.
Absolutely. And I think Alex is a great in-game leader as well. Squirkle's in chat. Also, thank you for that 21-month sub as well.
21 months.
Like, he's been sub for 21 months. Squirkle has been with us for a very long time. He's almost at his 2-year mark. Absolutely loving him in chat. And he's a big CSGO guy. So I'm curious, Squirkle, on your thoughts on Alex as well. I personally think he's going to come in as a really strong in-game leader. He's done really well with, think he played with Zywoo previously. And Zywoo's that all-star. He's always one of the top players on a team. So some people are like, how much is Alex's leadership really weighing into this? How much is it pure skill from his teammates? I personally think as an in-game leader, Alex is one of the better ones in CSGO right now. So I'm really curious, not only Squirkle's opinion, but how this is going to continue to develop. And like we saw with Hiko on that Valorant roster for 100 Thieves, I hope we see Alex have some of the ability to help have at least some kind of say into the roster that gets built around him as well. Oh, Squirkle has not followed CS since COVID hit as much. Well, now he can follow the new C9 roster. They have their first player. They have a GM. They have a head coach, and I am stoked to see them go. One more CSGO move on the table is Fnatic. They've added Kiev, I believe is how it's pronounced, as a backroom analyst. I honestly could not find much on this guy. It looks like he played a lot of like the under scenes in a sense, not really the highest level of CSGO play, but he's a little bit lower down there. With the way we've watched Fnatic play CSGO in the past and League of Legends as well, they continue to scout that young talent. So I have a feeling that Kiev could be one of those young talents, maybe to come in as an analyst at a younger level, or maybe to come in as a potential player down the line. Not really 100% sure, but I like the idea of going for younger talent. There's a trade-off with how unproven young talent could be.
You can't find much on him because he's been in the back room the entire time, Joey.
I also spelled back room wrong. I put back groom.
I wasn't going to say anything.
This week is hit hard.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to let it slide.
I got to love it. Our next bullet point here on today's notes is partnership, Sean, and this one's interesting. This one not as unique as the next two to come, but it's another energy drink partnership. CD Projekt Red and Rockstar Energy are teaming up for the upcoming release of Cyberpunk, the new game to be released, hopefully in November if it doesn't get delayed a third time. That will be coming out, and this little deal will give special edition cans, exclusive rewards, and some game-inspired prizes. I don't think they'll be giving out any robot body parts, but I think there is some exciting stuff planned.
I like it. It seems like your very traditional game/energy drink partnership. To me, it makes sense. It's smart. Mountain Dew does it all the time with Call of Duty. I like it. I think it's smart. I personally not a huge fan of Rockstar energy drinks. I have my own personal preference, but I do know Rockstar is one of the popular brands out there. So I like it. I think it's going to be good for Rockstar and both Cyberpunk.
Yeah, and chat makes a good point as well, Squirkle over here. I think one of the things we see with esports a lot is it's usually Red Bull being the one out there, but generally Monster will be involved. We've seen Rockstar get involved. It feels like almost every single major, I don't want to say every major esport event, but like pretty much every major event. I can't think of one that did not have an energy drink sponsor. They're just constantly there. And this is another one of those moves, not necessarily esports in this case, but a big gaming deal coming out as well.
And I think that has to do with the overall perception of, video games and people who play that is a unique community. And then energy drinks kind of pride themselves on catering to unique communities. You have Red Bull and Monster both getting involved in extreme games, whether it's ESPN X games or whether it's, like Joey said, esport conventions or esport tournaments. They are kind of that out of the box company that's not afraid to partner with, the less sexy, if you will, organizations out there. It's not your NFL, it's not your NBA, it's not your Major League Baseball. It's your X Games, it's your Red Bull Esport tournament, it's your Rocket League tournament. Things that reach out there. And I think gamers who like to go on benches of playing games, myself included, energy drinks is kind of like a hand-in-hand thing. Now obviously our friends at the Game Gym would say energy drinks over a long period of time is definitely a bad thing. That's not healthy gaming. And they're 100% correct, but it is still very prevalent in the gaming community nonetheless.
Okay, John and chat, go ahead and take a minute to chew on this next one. Dignitas has announced Respawn by 5 as their official gum of Dignitas. Ladies and gentlemen, we have gone to candy bars, we've gone to energy drinks, we've gone to CPU parts and peripherals. They've all made sense. So what's the next general step? I mean, some people could talk more clothing and apparel sponsorships. Some people could look a little bit more in the sneaker industry of that clothing and apparel. There are many different ways this could go, but Dignitas, they've decided to go gum, John. They are going to take a nice little chew on a new partnership here with 5, Respawn, the official gum of Dignitas.
I'm going to tell you why I hate this, because here is my worry. One, not a lot of these esport organizations have media relation departments or media relation personnel. A lot of these players are, and it's kind of part of the scene too. They're kind of quirky when it comes to on-camera interviews. I am absolutely terrified someone is going to come to an interview chomping on gum into a microphone, and they're going to just look like, a horse chewing hay trying to answer, and all you're going to hear is, well, the thing I like the most about that last game was, and why we won was, I'm absolutely terrified that's going to happen. And I hope it doesn't. It's a very awkward partnership. I will give them that. The official gum. What are they going to do? Are they going to have to chew gum while they're on stage now? It's not turtle wax. I'll give them that. But it's a very unique partnership, and I'm not a huge fan because I see this going downhill real fast.
Wow, and John, after your chewing demonstration over here, I think we might have to find a partnership with a new editor over here for the podcast.
Who, me?
That was quite an experience to listen to in high def over here. Wow, hello. So gum, this is one I did not see coming, just like you mentioned, turtle wax. It's one of those unique things. But again, everything is sponsorable, everything is brandable. That's the big way of making money here. You continue to sign sponsors on board. If that means gum packs, if that means mice, we can weigh them differently, but overall, it does mean more money potentially in the pocket of Dignitas. Dolby and Xbox are partnering up to make both the Xbox Series X and S the first consoles ever with gaming in Dolby Vision, which is coming soon, and Dolby Atmos available at launch. There's some more details on this at dolby.com/gaming. They have a good little amount of demonstrations, John. I don't know if you've clicked that link yet. Supposedly the PC has this. I did not know that. I've used Dolby Atmos, the headset one, which is great. I've used it in games. You can hear footsteps really effectively. Dolby Digital Vision, I did not know it was a thing already. Did you?
It's not out yet, I don't believe. I think it's something that's still in the works. I think I'm assuming because it's vision, it's like an enhanced visual display or something.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. Yeah. It's so 40 times brighter than what the Xbox currently gets, 10 times black levels from the current ones, and up to 12-bit color depth. So it's a lot more color. And the sample they have on the website, it's like someone driving through a dark city. I believe it's in Cyberpunk. They light it up with Dolby Vision, and it becomes much, much brighter, much easier to see, much more detailed and all that. People have been saying it's already on PC. I don't know how real that is, but I know it will be the first on console. It looks gorgeous. It looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm
have
looking
you
at it
the
right
Atmos
now.
for hearing it all?
I do not. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I may not be a fan of Dolby Vision just because the amount of motion blur it adds in with that brightness. I don't know. I think it's gonna come down to the actual game that's being played. But I do like the brighter colors. I do like the attention to detail there. But from a motion blur standpoint, I feel like that may cause an issue.
Yeah, I feel like they chose the brightest possible game to show it off
They really
with.
did.
Like when you think Cyberpunk is extremely bright. So we're talking like, I don't really see the motion blur as much as just the pure brightness going on. And it looks great. Like the ray tracing aspects are so much brighter as far as like puddles and the reflections coming off of them. But just watching like the visions it's bright. It's a very, very bright vision coming from the buildings. But I think it's great. When you look at next-gen graphics, you're talking about ray tracing. You're talking about the beautiful ability to process so quickly, to look at these open worlds with barely any loading time going into them. Now you're adding Dolby Vision on top of that. So you have Dolby Atmos on your console. You can hear things extremely well. Now you can see things in, what did I say, like 40 extra brightness of color layers if you really want to. Again, guys, games, you can adjust your brightness within game. This just kind of gives you a higher ceiling and a lower floor to play with. I think it's cool, John. I'm stoked for this. I think this will be probably the best graphically looking, at least brightness levels we've ever had on a console to date. Additionally, Xbox is also teaming up with Taco Bell for an Xbox Series X giveaway. Again, nothing super new here, guys. We've seen PlayStation, we've seen Xbox. They do it before. We've seen it with different fast food chains. This time, Taco Bell. I think they did Taco Bell with the original Xbox, if I remember correctly. So now they are teaming back up. If you want your Crunchwrap Supreme or whatever you get at Taco Bell, you can now have a chance at winning that Xbox as well if you go with the combo meal. So go ahead and check that out. If you're a Taco Bell fan or an Xbox fan, that will be one way to get that Xbox this coming November.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Taco Bell's actually done this for every generation of Xbox at one point
I feel
or
like it has
another.
too.
Yeah, I think it's again playing to the stereotypical gamer who loves Taco Bell. I think I love the deal. I think it's great for Taco Bell, and I think it's great for Xbox. They usually team it up with their $5 box, and they have like an Xbox themed box that comes in. I think the marketing's incredibly well done for the giveaway, and a lot of people get hyped for it. So I think it's going to be a really, really solid promotion once again.
Absolutely. Crunch on that one, folks. Additionally, we have more Xbox announcements, John. They were not meant to come this week. They were planned for next week, and it has been confirmed by Phil Spencer since then. But a little guy, a guy out there in the media industry, and that is Brad Sams, came out and was the first leaker of the Series S. Now, we've heard things here and there for 2 years. We've got little details of possible prices. We've got mock-up images of like a little square. We've had all different little possible leaks come out based on some trademarks that were seen on the official trademark website for Microsoft. Now we officially know it. We know what it's going to look like. We know its name. It is the Xbox Series S. We know a price. We know a release date. We know a pre-order date. We know all of that. So it is the Series S. It's going to be the second console coming out for Xbox and Microsoft this year. The Xbox Series X, which was announced last December, is going to be your top of the line option. It's going to come at $499, and pre-order for that one is going to be September 22nd. And on I see that. And on top of that, it's going to be released on November 10th. The Series S, now we know that full reveal again. It's going to come in at $299. That's going to be one of the cheapest consoles we have seen in, I feel like, the last decade, if not more. John, you've nicknamed it the small boy, so we're going to continue to call it that. It got its full reveal this week. I like it. I have mixed ideas. So it's going to come out as a white Xbox, which is great. They've done that in the past. There's a black/dark gray grate on it in a circular form that I'm not the biggest fan of. I am all about cooling, though. I do not want my console sounding like a jet engine like people said the PS4 did. Not about that life, so I'm cool if this increases airflow. I just feel like making it either white or some kind of other design on it would have been the play here.
I have a PS4 right next to me. It's currently on. You can't hear a thing, Joey.
Wow, you are one of the few, my friend, from what I've heard.
I don't. I mean, maybe people have them like suffocated in a tiny area and causing it to overheat, causing that jet.
Do you have it in an entertainment center or just out on the floor?
No, it's legit on my desk right now. It's
yeah,
like
that's probably why.
Right
I think it's the entertainment centers that are probably doing it.
Oh, for sure. But no, I think I agree with you. I think the design of the S is kind of comical. It looks like a drive-through speaker box, and I think that's like one of the memes that's currently going out there. You know, yeah, it definitely is a small boy. There was a comparison of it. It is roughly half the size of a PlayStation 4. It's slightly taller, just by a fraction. Nothing too crazy there. Thickness, yeah, right there too. But I mean, like overall, like it is a fairly small digital console, which is very, very, very impressive. $299 as a price point is absolutely fantastic. You know, the specs on it is absolutely great. It's going to be available in high def with 4K upscaling. I think for $299, that is a massive steal for a lot of the entry-level gamers into the Xbox family. And it's also going to be that consumer-friendly option as well. Not saying the Series X is overpriced by any means, but at $299 for what you're getting, that is a massive, massive deal. The Series X at $499, the big boy, Joey, the mini fridge, if you will, $500. $500, you get a console that can game up to 8K, which 8K is still fairly new. It is an absolutely mammoth machine, not just size wise. I'm just talking about specs and how it's going to operate and what it's going to be able to do. Xbox really knocked this one out of the park. Microsoft it should be very, very proud with what they're putting out there for this generation, and that is coming from someone who has been Team Sony since the original PlayStation. It is very, very impressive. But I think the biggest thing, Joey, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but the all access option of this is what really makes this a steal.
Yeah, I think all access coming out is going to be a very, very big deal. So to put it into terms, guys, if you're getting like the newest Samsung phone or the newest Apple phone, maybe you don't want to pay that giant what is Apple nowadays? $899 to 100 or 1,099.
Over
I feel like
1,000,
right around
yeah.
that range. Yeah, it's a big boy price wise, as John would say. That sucker comes in at a very big price tag. These guys much lower, but still with the current economic, let's say, economic climate going on with the pandemic, some people are finding money a little bit more of a penny pinching situation. Obviously, you want to pay your bills, you want to do all of that first. If you do have a little bit of money to spend and you want to look at an entertainment route, this is one route you can look for the PlayStation or Xbox come this holiday. This is just a way to make it more affordable. And they're coming out and giving you 24-month plans. So for that Series X, the higher upper line one, it's going to be $34.99 a month for 24 months. For the Series S, that's going to be $24.99 a month for 24 months. Now, what this doesn't say up front, but is a huge part of this, they both will include Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for 24 months as well. So that value is currently at $14.99. So you can almost subtract $14.99 off both these prices for what you'll actually be paying for the console. And it actually, I think at least with the Series S, it comes up cheaper than the actual price tag if you were to buy it outright. So potentially this is a big deal if someone wants to, one, make it more affordable. Two, if they feel comfortable with budgeting and are fine with paying for it over amount of time. This can be done directly from Microsoft and Xbox, or it can be done from a retailer of your choice. I know, John, you said Best Buy was one of them. I think GameStop might be another one. Yes, GameStop does still exist out there. And there's a couple others out there, too, that are going to hold this deal as well.
Yeah, like, so here, I'm going to put this into perspective for you. Sony has been so far behind closed doors this entire time. Sony is essentially admitting there's issues with the PlayStation 5 with the little amount of information being put out there, all the rumors that are coming out in regards to overheating issues, which again for consoles is nothing new, but is a major issue. There's going to be a limited amount of PlayStation 5s available on release date because of these issues having to be fixed so last minute. And then we also hear that the release date of the prices is being bumped back after Microsoft comes out and drops this massive bomb of how incredibly affordable these consoles are. Joe, I believe rumors had it that the digital version, again, just rumors, speculating here, was at $549 for the digital version, which means the full version with disc is probably close to $699 at the price point, which is absolutely, I mean, no, look, don't get me wrong, Joey. You and I both had this conversation before. It's around $600 is what we were expecting this generation to really be at, if not higher. But in comparison, a system that statistically is slightly underpowered in comparison is going to be more than its powerful counterpart just drives me up a wall. Sony does this to themselves constantly. They bank on the exclusive game factor, and I get it. It makes sense. But when you look at everything Microsoft is throwing into these deals, when you're looking at the Game Pass being thrown in, the all-access payment option with the Game Pass Ultimate for 24 months included when you do that payment option, Joey, I mean, I hate to say it. I really don't hate to say it's because it's absolutely incredible. It officially is like the smartest option if you are a gamer and you're looking to upgrade. Whether you go for the small boy at $299, whether you go for the big boy at $499, if you're going for the payment plan, like I hate this. I feel like an Xbox shill all of a sudden, Joey. I feel like I'm taking over your role here. It is such like Sony, you need to do something. You need to do something yesterday because Xbox is continuing to blow this out of the water and your silence is deafening. It's absolutely deafening. I mean, it was trending on Twitter for PlayStation 5. Please, Sony, release the prices. How much is it going to cost? Please let us know because Xbox is being incredibly impressive. The gameplay demos that have come out from the system have been absolutely amazing. And now you're throwing this financial deal with monthly payments as low as $35 and $25 based upon what version you get, plus unlimited ultimate Game Pass for that same 24 months. That's 2 years. Are you kidding me? There's no way Sony can match that. There's nothing Sony could do to possibly match that.
No, I mean, financially, they can't. And I, like John said, like just to reestablish prices, guys, for this generation, a lot of people are saying $499 should be as low as these people go. like as far as Microsoft and Sony, because they are paying so much to make these consoles. I mean, John, what was our estimate? Like $650 to $750 is what these consoles probably actually cost to manufacture.
Yeah, right around $600-700 easily.
Yeah, it's like a mid-range PC around is what we're looking at for these next-gen consoles. So they are quite up there. Now, again, NVIDIA with their new graphics cards, you can argue against that, but prior to those graphics cards, we're looking at about a mid-end PC. So now with these suckers coming out, we have these prices. Again, Sony, we can't dive too much into it, but like John said, they were looking at like $549 as a possible price point for that discless version. They were supposed to announce this week, guys. I can tell you that part. That is not happening anymore unless something crazy happens tomorrow. From what I've heard, like John said, they're going to go back and review the prices. They're looking to try to match Xbox prices. They're not going to be able to do it exactly. I think what we're going to end up with is probably $399 and $499. That discless version at $399, maybe even $449 if they don't feel like they can go that low. And then the main PlayStation probably around $499 if it does go that way. So we'll see how low they end up going. Again, Microsoft being a much more, let's say, lucrative company overall. But again, the Xbox division compared to the Sony division or the Sony PlayStation division is not as lucrative. So there's numbers that can be weighed out back and forth regardless. But Sony's going to have to make some moves. And they're going to have to make them pretty quickly because those Xbox pre-orders, once again, go online September 22nd. If you've seen consoles in the past, one of the big things is who gets that first pre-order date out there. They see a bulk of people, and a lot of people just get, I don't want to say anxious, but they just get a little crazy. They don't want to wait for the next one. They just end up saying, well, I'm going to go with whoever announces pre-orders first. It's a dumb way to decide, in my opinion, but it is a way that some gamers have decided in the past. And I've said this before, I think Sony still keeps a lot of the market share, but I think Xbox making these moves is going to be very consumer friendly. Yes, they're going to pull some market share based on that $299 price point. But the other thing, and John hit on this a bit, is they're forcing Sony to pull down those prices. So not only are they making it better for Xbox fans, they're making it better for PlayStation fans as well, having Sony pull those prices down. So big wins all around. One more thing to touch on for Xbox before we head into our good old Apple versus Epic segment. Game Pass did get one more bump. Starting holiday 2020, EA Play, formerly EA Access, will be included with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and Xbox Game Pass for PC as well. It's not going to cost you an extra $4.99 or an extra $9.99, guys. It's included at no extra cost. EA Access, for those of you who don't know, or EA Play as it's now called, it's pretty much access to the vault of EA games. So EA games, I want to say it's like 75 games in that vault at the moment. Your Mass Effects, your Dragon Ages, all of those games that they own. Battlefield is another big one in there. Those are all accessible, plus all the previous sports games as well. Now, for the newer sports games, there is a little bit of a time window. I want to say it's like 6 months for most of them. So you will have to buy that game up front. But again, as a Game Pass member and as an EA Play member, you can get it at like a 15 to 20% discount for both in-game microtransactions with EA, because we know they love them, as well as the sale price of the game. So it's a win-win all around regardless. A huge buy, and I'm curious how much Microsoft spent on that, to be completely honest.
Yeah, Squirkle in chat goes, EA being a decent company, what world am I living in? I think anyone that plays sports-based video games can share that sentiment. I mean, or any title by EA, really. EA nickels and dimes you like crazy for every little possible piece of content. And then on top of it, they give you a recycled version of the same sports game for 8 years in a row before they make any kind of major changes. I think this is a great deal. The fact that it's going to be included at no additional cost to the gamer. I'm not gonna stop at EA, Joey. Let's just talk about the developer world for gaming in general. What world are we living in where they actually care about the consumer all of a sudden? Like, we're seeing Microsoft stand up for gamers, telling people, hey, look, if people buy this game for the last gen console and then they upgrade within X amount of time, they should have the right to upgrade to that game at no additional charge. You've already paid full price for that game. What? Now, don't get me wrong. Like, it is fantastic, but that's coming from Microsoft. That's coming from developers saying, hey, look, we want to make this available. We want to give this an option. Now, of course, we can go into the fact that, there's some people like, oh, well, you have to get the exclusive premium version of the game to do this, and we're only going to give you a 4-month window to do it. But it's better than nothing. Which is the sad underline. But what world are we living in where the gamers are actually being considered when these decisions are being made. It's incredible, Joey. What a time to be a gamer in 2020.
Yeah, and I'm not going to give all the credit to Microsoft and Xbox, and I'm not going to say that Xbox is not out there for your money either. Everyone in any kind of tech industry wants your money one way or another, but I think there's some proactive moves that everyone needs to praise. One, the cheap price that we mentioned earlier. Sony's dropping their price as a result of it. The fact that xCloud is being launched worldwide. Now they're challenging Google Stadia and NVIDIA GeForce to continue improving their offerings. Now we look at EA here being bought into this service. Again, Microsoft probably paid to get them in here if I had to take a guess. But again, it's still EA agreeing with something that normally someone like EA probably wouldn't agree with. So there's just been big moves. The other one that really has not been touched on because it's not as public is Sony bringing their games to PC. We're talking about the God of Wars, The Last of Us, these amazing games that Sony has made for their console, now possibly being available on PC come 2021, 2022, and forward. So I think a lot of these moves, regardless if you like Xbox or Microsoft, you can hate them completely. If you're a fan of games in general, these are moves that you got to praise. Stuff like Game Pass being as cheap as it is. Stuff like all this other stuff we've mentioned. Anything that makes things cheaper, more accessible for gamers, I think is a huge win overall. So whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Sony, whether it's Ubisoft, whoever's doing it, these are moves as gamers, regardless of which side you want to align with, that you have to praise. So I think there's big wins all around. Again, as someone who prefers Xbox more than Sony generally, I have to say Sony is one of the best makers of all time when it comes to third-person action adventure games. And as someone who primarily plays on PC, I am stoked to see those come to PC. So I think as a gamer, this is one of the, as dark as 2020 has been, I think all of this gaming news has actually been a huge positive for gamers moving forward.
Jerry, what world are we living in? I complimented Xbox and you just complimented PlayStation. This is weird.
I know. What's wrong with it?
I don't like this.
Oh, chat is balling on Stadia over there. Heyo. Apple versus Epic. Fortnite is probably available on Stadia. I feel like it's available everywhere but the Apple Store and the Google Play Store after these recent outbreaks. John, so Epic came out. They did the little suit thing against Apple. They caught them off guard with their price change. They did a lot of this action. And then Apple came back and said, hey, you've gone against terms of our agreement. You've ended up routing all payments directly to Epic and bypassing the Apple Store unless people want to pay a higher rate that you very well advertised was our fault. It was not a good play by Epic. We've slammed Epic for it. The way they went about there was 100% a breach of the terms. Now, the way Apple has gone about their retaliation has been a little messy too. They've ended up coming out and they said, well, Epic, not only are we taking Fortnite off our store, we're not going to allow you access to update any Unreal development tools either. Now, that was a huge slam, not only to Epic because there's money involved with it, but to tons and tons of other developers because I don't want to say the majority, but a giant portion of games developed on the Apple App Store use those Unreal Engine tools. So there's been some cases that have come out. Again, this was like a preliminary ruling. The judge said that they ruled in favor of Apple for some of this stuff, but also told Apple you cannot block these developer tools. Epic still needs access to them to support the other games on your market. It just would not be, I don't remember the term, but it's pretty much fair is the way they went about it. So now Apple has come and they have sent out a new court statement seeking damages for breach of contract by Epic. And John, go ahead and pull up some of the quotes there. One other detail before I turn it over to you is as soon as tomorrow, Apple will no longer allow users to sign into their Epic account using Sign In with Apple. So, when you go to a website, sign in with Facebook, sign in with Google, sign in with Apple. Sign In with Apple will no longer be able to be connected to your Epic Games account. So if that is how you sign in currently, go ahead and change your name and password, ladies and gentlemen, because that will not be accessible. Again, as early as tomorrow. It could wait until next week, but it's coming very soon.
Yes. So Apple responds with a 67-page countersuit against Epic. And I like the way Apple actually presented their countersuit. I'm not going to give you all 67 pages. I did read through all 67 pages. I thought it was absolutely fascinating. But the way Apple is presenting their case is they start out with this. They start out with the positive. They start out with how great of a partnership between Apple and Epic this has been for Fortnite, for both companies. Both companies were profiting. They were in great relations. They worked on launches together. They worked on events together. And as recently as April of 2020, this year, Epic executives recognized and thanked Apple for its support and promotion of Fortnite events. So, I mean, that's not that long ago. Like, there was so much good blood between these two companies. Then all of a sudden, June comes around, and this is fun. On page 4 of the document filed, Apple lawyers wrote, Epic decided that they would like to reap the benefits of the App Store without having to pay for them. armed with the apparent view that Epic is too successful to play by the same rules as everyone else. Now, that's ironic because it's two multi-billion-dollar companies arguing over money and playing by the same rules when both companies would love to have a deal in their favor more than the other person. So I just find that's very ironic, written by Apple lawyers. So essentially, Epic CEO Tim Sweeney comes to Apple asking for a special deal, if you will, a discount from the Apple fees. And Apple, of course, denies him. So then it goes on to say, unbeknownst to Apple, Epic has been busy enlisting a legion of lawyers, publicists, and technicians to orchestrate a sneak assault on the App Store. Shortly after 2 a.m. on August 13th, the morning on which Epic would activate its hidden commission theft functionality, Mr. Sweeney again emails Apple executives declaring Epic will no longer adhere to Apple's payment processing restrictions in the App Store. So it's kind of interesting. A 2 a.m. email, an blatantly open disregard of the terms of service for the App Store performed by Epic, which goes back to, well, in April, they had all this great things to say about Apple. And Epic had all these great things to say about Apple, but then secretly behind closed doors, this had to be months in the making. There is no way they just did this overnight. There was that commercial that came out that was mocking Apple. There was the in-game event that came out that was mocking Apple. There's a bad guy in Fortnite now that's stylized after Apple. But essentially, the nitty-gritty, the TLDR, if you will. Apple says Epic portrays itself as a modern corporate Robin Hood. In reality, it's a multi-billion-dollar enterprise that simply wants to pay nothing for the tremendous value it derives from the App Store. Epic's demands for special treatment and cries of retaliation cannot be reconciled with its flagrant breach of contract and its own business practice as it rakes in billions by taking commissions on game developer sales and charging consumers up to $99.99 for bundles of V-Bucks. This lawsuit is full of zingers by Apple. I think it's absolutely fantastic. But at the end of the day, I think Apple has a very strong case to go after Epic here because Epic clearly and blatantly, and within the first 4 pages of this lawsuit, lays out a very strong case that Epic knew exactly what they were doing and they had no regret doing it.
I think they're both educated idiots. If I'm being completely honest, it reminds me of like think of a movie like Mean Girls. I'm imagining Mean Girls with $1 trillion companies. Like this is like high school. It's a little high school fight where now we're throwing money at all these different lawyers, at all these different cases, and both sides I think are dumb. Like Epic, you 100% went against the terms of service, and it sounds like you completely knew that multiple times over, and you even asked if you were going to go over it before doing this. Such a stupid move to go forward and do it. You knew this was going to come, and you did because you had this stupid trailer ready to go. That's a mess in and of itself. Apple, I think 30% is too much. Whether you're Apple, whether you're, I think Sony and Xbox, we talked about before, say 30% as well. It just feels too high. Like when you have a developer like Fortnite, I get it. They're making tons and tons of money. You can cut a little bit more and they're not going to feel the blame. But when you have all these small developers also designing games, I feel like 30% takes so much from them. So I would love to see that come down. Now, I'm not going to court with either one of these $1 trillion companies. They can do whatever they want, but I would love to see the rate come down to 15 or 20%. I think that's still reasonable for Apple to rake in, but I think it's also a little bit more in favor of the developers. But I would also say Epic should be completely blocked from bypassing transactions. I think they have to go through whatever store they're on, whether it's Apple, whether it's Google Play, whether it's Steam, whatever. I think they have to go through that. So when it comes down to it, I feel like both parties are wrong. I think Apple has a little bit more money behind them and probably a little bit stronger as far as lawyers go. But you do have to remember that Epic also has Tencent in its back pocket. So even though Epic Games in and of itself is not worth a ton, I don't know if they're the majority shareholder, but they're a very big shareholder, like 45% or something. They do have Tencent. So Tencent can bring the heat as well. I think this is far from over. If anything, I think we could see this possibly settled out of court. But again, with the way they just keep going at each other right at the neck, it feels like over and over. I think this could go for, I would say, over a year at this point if we continue at this rate.
I think childish is a great term to use for these two. I find it really ironic that the whole I don't like what you're doing, I'm going to take my ball and go home mentality is still being performed by boomers in charge of multi-trillion-dollar companies. I mean, Joey, like we were taught from a young age, I think everyone's taught from a young age that, you know, if you go to another person's house, you abide by the rules of that house. Like if they want you to take your shoes off at the front door, you're not that kid that drags in their muddy boots all across the carpet. You take your shoes off at the front door. You know, this is essentially Epic saying, I'm going to leave my muddy shoes on and I'm going to stomp all over your carpet and there's nothing you can do about it. Then all of a sudden, you're no longer allowed to go over to your friend's house because you tracked mud in all over the carpet. That's essentially what this is with trillions of dollars over a stupidly popular video game. It's ridiculous. It's childish. I say that because I'm not involved and I don't have that kind of money and I really don't have to worry about that. But it is freaking ridiculous that this is even currently going on between these two companies. But I agree with you. I think it's going to be settled out of court. I hope it doesn't go on for years. I think that's going to be just a nightmare to continue this on over and over and over. But it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. So far, I think the rulings, the one in favor of Apple saying that, yes, you had every right to kick Fortnite out of there for breaking the terms of service of your marketplace is correct. And I do believe the judge ruling in favor of Epic and the Unreal Engine against Apple and its ban is 100% correct as well. So far, so good. It looks like it is being played out the way it should be. But again, with 67 pages being thrown down by Apple, it's going to be going on for a little bit.
Yeah, and just a reminder, that was a preliminary hearing, so that was not a court hearing, listeners. So usually to get into the court, we're talking like 3 to 4 months at a minimum to get in there. So it will be quite a while. Now, I think if we had to pick one side here, outside of them banning the developer tools, I feel like Apple is definitely in the better place as far as this particular argument goes.
For sure. And, you know, again, TLDR in the 67 pages, Apple does address every single issue Epic puts against them in Epic's original 65-page affidavit or legal documentation or legal filing, I should say. And Apple does a really good job at citing their own terms of service and how there's other companies that follow by it and there's never an issue, and that they do on a case-by-case basis, as it does state in the terms of service that they're allowed to do, you know, as they deem fit to change it based upon developers. So I think Apple did a very good job at filing this motion or this legal proceeding against Epic and in responding to Epic's original claims. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to enjoy watching this play out. I enjoy watching pettiness and lawsuit counterclaims. So I think it's fun. I need more one-liners. Legion of lawyers, Joey. Love it.
Wow. Okay, Judge Judy over there. The one other thing to hit on, and this is outside of Epic, but dealing with Apple. So outside of the Epic case, they also have it's not really an official case, but it's a review by EU currently, where I believe it's Microsoft, Google, NVIDIA, and Amazon are kind of coming at Apple in a sense, as far as their cloud gaming. Just a reminder, guys, if you weren't on the show or haven't listened to that episode, it's pretty much Apple saying, hey, you cannot have any kind of cloud gaming service on our device unless it's only like a single game. The way they want it to be, like, so we're just going to use Microsoft, for example, Project xCloud launching on September 15th. They're going to have all of these games available as xCloud streamed games. So the way Apple wants it to be done is every one of those single games needs to be its own app. Same thing with Google Stadia, same thing with NVIDIA GeForce if it comes to mobile. So they're coming out against Apple saying that's not fair. The way your terms of service are written, and this is where I think they have Apple pinned a little bit, is when it comes to entertainment, everything does not have to be reviewed, while Apple is saying that every single thing does need to be reviewed, whether it be a game, whether it be a video, et cetera, et cetera. And the way it's written is kind of why Google and Microsoft and Amazon and all these big hitters are coming out them for that. So in that sense, I argue against Apple because no one's trying to steal their money away. They're still getting that full 30% on transactions. It's just purely they want to list all of their things under one app as opposed to list them out individually as separate apps. I get it. I think it makes sense from that side. I think EU is probably going to rule against Apple when it comes to that. But again, that one could be quite a few years out as well. Anything else on that, John, before we jump on? I think it's going to be a little while before we have an update on that one.
I'm ready for a nap. That's all
Nap
it was.
time it is. But first, Sean, we have a spotlight concert series right here on the Level Up podcast. Just kidding. It's going to be in Fortnite once again. Fortnite continuing to host those world events, those fun little get-togethers with people, whether you're out there shooting each other in a battle royale or jamming together in a concert with Marshmello. This time you'll be with Dominic Fike. He'll be kicking off this series on the main stage September 12th at 5 p.m. Eastern time. John, I hate to be that guy, but I'm not really sure who Dominic Fike is.
I'm right there with you.
Oh, dang.
Not
That's
sure.
bad.
Yeah, no clue. Sorry.
And that's when you know Epic Games has spent all their money trying to fight Apple. Yeah, Dominic Fike, I hope you're a great dude out there. I'm sure you do wonderful things. But yeah, he will be kicking off this concert series, main stage, September 12th, 5 p.m. Eastern time.
I'm going to Google him real quick. Hold on a second.
I mean, I love the concert series. I think they do a great job with these in-game events. Who they have? They had Travis last time. Before that, they had Marshmello. But yeah, I don't know.
So
Dominic.
I may end up giving this guy a shot, right? Because he's described as singing alternative hip hop and rap rock, which I'm a big fan of both.
Rap rock? Is that really a category?
Rap rock. Back in the day, Joey, it was called nu metal.
Okay, I can work with that a little bit.
So we'll give you that. Signed to Columbia Records. He's 24, but he looks 12, possibly until you see the face tattoos, which is a current trend of your SoundCloud rappers out there. Yeah, he actually had a #1 hit song on the U.S. alternative charts back in 2018 called 3 Nights. I don't remember any of this, and I like to think I keep up on music quite well. Yeah, I don't know. No, he has a song called Rollerblades, though, Joey. Rollerblades.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a throwback.
From Florida. There you go.
I'm curious, like, I'm very interested to see how this goes. So a lot of these events that like Marshmello and Travis Scott pulled in tons and tons of people, but they're well-known artists. They're people or artists that people know, people have listened to many times before. And maybe we're just not in the know here. Maybe we're boomers, as T-Spans calls us. But Dominic Fike is one of those artists that you and I have not really experienced. So I'm curious if he's going to pull in a crowd or if Fortnite in general just pulls in the crowd and ends up bumping his numbers up quite a bit from the concert. Will be interesting.
Apparently
Checking
he
out
opened
chat
for
here.
Halsey? Wait, what?
Oh, wow. Maybe that's where he got to start.
Okay.
Welcome to the Dominic Fike podcast. Moving on, we're going to move to another superstar or a potential superstar in Dominic to a definitely superstar in Ninja. Ninja has officially returned to Twitch. After his little let's get paid for 2 years at Mixer, after his move to YouTube where he popped off and set records over there, now he said, hey, I'm going back home. We had our little spat. We worked it out. Mama's letting me back in, and Ninja is back to Twitch. I'm sure there was some kind of money deal signed as well, but he's officially back there. He announced it today, and he did his first stream today as well. It pulled in huge numbers as per usual with the Ninja stream. He is now back there, and I think he's going to pull numbers from a lot of these other big-name streamers. But again, if you're Twitch, you're feeling really good because that's another crowd continuing to come back to your platform. And again, first stream was super successful. You gonna put a headband on for us over there?
Real quick. So Squirkle just says this Dominic Fike guy, he goes, the dude's a nobody who just got out of prison and signed to a big label before producing any music. And Squirkle is my music brother. So I can trust him on this one. But that just, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't. But yeah, as for Ninja though, I think it's a great deal, both for Ninja and Twitch. Obviously, Twitch is still the overall #1 streaming service for gamers and esport and gaming content. Ninja being back there, I think, it was just bound to happen. Now, again, when Ninja left Twitch, there's a lot of bad blood between the two. Twitch didn't exactly do Ninja right. They kind of did him a little dirty, especially with some of the channels that they were promoting on his site after he left to Mixer. So, you know, it's good to see Ninja and Twitch bury the hatchet and you know, they're back together. I think it's good for both Ninja and Twitch. I think Ninja's going to get those amazing viewership numbers once again. And I think Twitch is incredibly excited to have one of the best, if not the best content creator. Again, it's all personal preference, back on their platform.
Absolutely. That's going to bring us to today's event, John. We had Ubisoft Forward going on today. We're not going to spend a ton of time touching on this like we did with Gamescom 2020. There were a lot more announcements at that one compared to this one, but I'm going to go ahead and list out some games and then we can touch on a couple of them before we move into some esports news. So, kicking things off, we had Gods and Monsters. It has now been rebranded to Immortals Phoenix Rising. That one's set to come out on December 3rd. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time is getting a remake. It originally came out in 2003. Now it's going to get remade for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. That one's going to drop mid-January of 2020. We had Rainbow Six Siege get announced with its new operation. That's Shadow Legacy, dropping soon, and that will include a new agent or new operator, Zero, a.k.a. Sam Fisher. So yes, once again, more Splinter Cell news. Not a Splinter Cell game just yet. You're going to have to get all those clothing items that they're out there trademarking for God knows what reason. Hopefully a new game is coming with them. On top of that, Rainbow Six Siege will raise to 120 frames per second and 4K on the new consoles for 2020. That is a big deal as we see a lot of big multiplayer games moving to 120 frames per second when it comes to multiplayer on these new next-gen consoles. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the Complete Edition. So in case you weren't versus the world enough in the original, now you have the Complete Edition coming out as the 10-year anniversary launch. This is a side-scroller beat-em-up style game, kind of like Battletoads that we talked about in August. This one drops holiday 2020. Watchdog Legions, we see it at every single Ubisoft event for like the last 3 years. It's still in development. It still looks gorgeous. I love the idea, and it impresses me every time, John, the fact that every single person you see is playable and recruitable pretty much outside of the villains. So the fact that anyone you see on the street, from a bus driver to a beekeeper in a garden to a taxi driver to a doctor, any of these people are playable, recruitable. They have their own unique skill sets and their own personal backstories and weaknesses and all that good stuff. I think that's amazing. I think this game looks phenomenal. I think it's going to be one of the big star centers when it comes out. Last but not least is Riders Republic. This is the new IP they dropped at the end. This is a mass multiplayer game about exploring the outdoors through extreme sports. So chat, if you want to go out mountain biking with John or snowboarding with John or anything like that in a giant MMO type of setting, you can now do that here. They have, I believe it's 7 biomes. We're looking at terrains from forest to mountains to sand to snow. And so on and so forth. They are calling it a next-gen social interaction game. If you ask me, John, this is probably playing a little bit off of what we've seen Fortnite do the last couple of years. Those different map developments as well as social experiences. And on top of that, you can have trick battles to competitions and challenges with communities and friends as well. This one dropping February 25th, 2021. So of all these games that I know absolutely stoked you out of your mind during today's 30-minute conference, are there any that you want to touch on in particular?
30 minutes, Joey. 30. That might have been the shortest conference I have ever witnessed, been a part of, experienced. I was bored out of my mind. I did not think it went over very well. The Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake. Okay, cool. Awesome. Great. I mean, it was a great game back in 2003. Cool. It's going to get 21st century graphics and an update and all this other fun stuff. Cool. Awesome. Great. That doesn't excite me. I'm sorry. Just like, remakes of movies don't really excite me. I feel like Ubisoft missed a lot of opportunities here. I don't think they gave enough to make people excited, excited about their new products, their new IPs coming out, their new, I thought it was just bad. I mean, overall, it was bad. I'm if I had to give it a rating on a 1 to 10, Joe, I'm kind of curious. What would you give it on a rating of 1 to 10 on this 30-minute epic conference that Ubisoft put out?
I mean, if we're looking at the general gaming population, I would say a 4.
A little bit higher than what I've given. I gave it a 3. I don't think it was good. I don't think they gave enough, and I thought there's a lot left to be desired. Splinter Cell. But hey, it's okay, Joey. Splinter Cell has licensed for underwear and scarves and ties and sunglasses and headbands and everything else Splinter Cell fans want, right? Right? That's the kind of stuff that we gamers want. We want underwear based upon a stealth video game. Stealth underwear. There we go. That's what I'm talking about, Joey.
I mean, they have to put Splinter Cell out soon. Like, we are getting Sam Fisher and everything. They have a new mobile game that released. It has Sam Fisher. There's going to be a series on Netflix. Now he's in Rainbow Six Siege. I feel like there's Splinter Cell stuff everywhere. The new trademark, like you mentioned, all the clothing from underwear to gloves to hats to belts. Like, what the heck kind of stuff are they putting out here? I'm just very curious if they're just locking down any possibility or if we're actually going to get Splinter Cell bathing suits coming here in 2021. I don't really know, but I hope there is a new game to accompany them. A couple of these, John, I'm with you. I wasn't super stoked, but I know some of these have cult followings. Prince of Persia, there's going to be a ton of people buying into that. It was a hugely successful original game, just like we saw with Final Fantasy. I think it was 7 that got remade. Tons of people, even if the story has not changed a ton, they're going to end up buying back in, re-experiencing it, looking at it from a new scope with new graphics. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is another like widely popular cult classic that a lot of people like as well. I've actually never played through it, but I know it is very popular out there.
What?
And the other one is just Rainbow Six Siege. Rainbow Six Siege has grown player numbers year over year and continues to excel both as an esport and just a player-based game. So the fact that we saw a new operation, I think, is a big win there. My issues are more at these other ones. So Watchdog Legions, I think it looked great. I think that was the best thing shown today, but we've seen it at 4 or 5 showcases in a row now. It's like, okay, we know you can recruit everyone and you can show us thousands of people and they're going to be awesome to see. But how many times do we want to see it in this big showcase where we're supposed to get new content? And you have, for example, Assassin's Creed Valhalla coming out. People complained about the gameplay that was shown in May, and we still don't have any new real gameplay shown come September. So I think that's one thing that a lot of people are like kind of wondering, like, Ubisoft, what's going on with this game? Is it still releasing? Are we getting better looking graphics? What's going on? Gods and Monsters, now Immortals Phoenix Rising. I think this is going to be one of those games that I was not super stoked about, but I think I could see it being a great game on like Game Pass, for example. This is something, so to me, it felt like Zelda meets God of War. It has that deep like Greek mythology to it, a lot of Greek-based gameplay and mechanics and lore. But on top of that, it kind of had like a little bit of a more cartoony looking Zelda feel, but it also had that adventure mode where you kind of go out there, you find these items that are going to help you beat, I guess, temples or regions or whatever they're going to call them in Immortals. I think this game could be one of those games that really surprises people, but I think it's going to come out silently and then get bigger as it goes. It's going to be a December 3rd release date, as we said, and there is a free playable demo that's going to come to Google Stadia exclusively.
Can I just talk about the elephant in the room real quick?
Sure.
You've never played a Scott Pilgrim game? Have you even seen Scott Pilgrim?
I think I've seen the movie, but I've never even heard that there were games out there before. I played side-scroller beat-em-up style. Like, I just played Battletoads a couple weeks ago, but I've not played this original thing.
We're gonna
10 years ago, so what was that, 2010 that it came out?
We're going to have a chit-chat here off stream once this is all done and over with, because that is...
Yeah, why is everyone hating on me? You've played Scott Pilgrim, though, John?
Yes! Scott Pilgrim's amazing. Like, that was the one part of the entire conference I actually perked up at. I was like, ooh, Scott
Literally
Pilgrim's
had no idea this thing even existed.
Oh.
Okay, chat. I'm sorry. I will try to play through Scott Pilgrim. Maybe I can find it on Steam or something. I don't even know what platform it launched on. But this complete edition is coming out, John. So I can wait for this beauty coming out holiday 2020 and play through, save the world, do my thing in the Scott Pilgrim vs. the World complete edition.
I need you to stream it here on OTN because I need live reaction from you.
Oh, gosh. I will see what I can do. The last game I want to touch on before we move forward from Ubisoft forward is Riders Republic. What are your thoughts on this? When I originally saw it teased, I'm thinking, okay, we're going to get a crazy downhill bike battle royale. And I'm like, wasn't what I expected, but I'm kind of digging it a little bit. The idea of a battle royale, downhill, 100 people on bikes sounds kind of cool, especially if you can like kick people or run into people, add a little like NFL Street element to it. I think it could be pretty sick. But then they started talking about a social experience. And then they started showing like 30 people biking, having this social experience at this high speed. And I'm like, if I want to just chill and chat with someone, why wouldn't I jump on like a Sea of Thieves or something else that's nice and slow paced? Why do I want to be over here playing this super fast-paced game while trying to have a social experience with people? That to me was like the one step back. Then they went through and they showed these competitions, which I think are cool. Again, not sure if it's going to relate to a battle royale, but they did like an X game style thing with like a it's like a half pipe kind of thing with snowboarding where people were getting scored based on the way they ended up playing out courses. That's kind of stuff I'm kind of cool with. Like, it reminds me of the old X Games we used to get a while back, like where they had like the Winter X Games, or they have the Summer X Games, and they have the different skateboarding stuff from snowboarding, et cetera, depending on the season. If they go that route, I could see this doing decent. But again, it doesn't really hit me as like a blockbuster IP like they made it out sound to be.
So I like skateboarding, BMX style games. I think they're very fun. I like snowboarding games as well. I like the idea behind it. I don't understand like why this would attract people to buy the game though. If like, okay, cool, so you can have trick competitions. Okay, like that's every other extreme sport video game out there. So you're pretty much selling the idea of this open world aspect for socializing. I mean, there's Discord, there's Ventrilo, there's, you name your voice chat with a community that you want to use it. You want to do it while BMXing. Okay, cool, awesome. But like, I don't understand the concept behind this when it's literally just a social hangout online, when there's already so many options of socially hanging out digitally and virtually. I mean, again, the concept seems kind of cool, but I don't see this like actually being a major thing. Like maybe if they turned it into like a Fall Guys kind of thing where it's like there's a competition, but then here's your problem. Then it becomes like every other extreme sport video game out there. It's a race. So it's weird. I honestly don't know how I feel about it. I like the idea, but I don't see it doing well.
See, you're thinking we're both on the exact same track here, because when I was talking Battle Royale, I'm thinking Fall Guys as well. Like just imagining everyone going down there and having these obstacles to go past. So the game itself, I don't see popping off, but if they add some kind of competition mode like a Fall Guys, again, 100 people, you're going maybe downhill the whole time. There's different ways that you have to go or different paths you can take. Something like that, something to make it more, I'm not going to say unique, because again, Fall Guys and these other Battle Royales have similar ideas, but something to kind of give a little bit more of an excitement factor, I guess. Like the idea of just driving around on a bike at high speed with friends and chatting with them just doesn't quite enliven me the way I think a game like this should. I think something a little bit more competitive or something like that gives it a different edge, a different ranking system of sorts, could give it a little bit more edge on the market. But again, I don't really see this one popping off too well. Okay, sir, let's move onward from Ubisoft forward. Let's go to some esport updates before we wrap up today's show. Again, guys, this episode's been a little bit longer. We weren't able to record Monday due to the holiday, so we wanted to chock this one full with quite a bit of detail for you guys, both listeners on the podcast and live with us here on Twitch. For esport updates, one announcement tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Gears Esports will be hosting a community stream to talk about a couple things. They're going to talk about the European and South American competitive scenes during COVID. They've had to make some major changes that have been let's say North American favored. A lot of that scene in North America, the United States, Canada, and Mexico getting a lot of the balance changes, in particular those three countries, compared to what we've seen a lot in the European and South American scenes. So they're supposed to talk a little bit more about South America. I hope they hit on Central America too, and a little bit of that scene, as well as Europe. We're going to get some updated pricing, program modes, and map updates for the scene. And then finally, a question and answer at the end. So again, guys, if you're interested, Gears Esports, 4 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow for that community stream. With that, let's hop into Overwatch League playoffs, where, again, we made a very bold call last week calling for the Washington Justice to 3-0 the Dallas Fuel, and it ended up happening. But that was not the only result that happened in the Overwatch League, John. We've had a lot of excitement. Go ahead and break down a little bit of where we currently are in the tournament and what stands ahead of us for that NA side of the bracket.
You gotta let the page load first before you start asking me these questions. Oh, my gosh.
Come on, Overwatch League. Get it together.
All right, where are we at here? All right. Thank you for loading. All right. So that was like the slowest page load I've experienced in like 8 years. So just look at that, Joey. We talk Overwatch League, and Kieran Thal from Washington Justice pops into chat. So that's pretty solid. Yes, and rocking the new emotes. Those are pretty sick. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I really like those.
So, Joey, not only did we correctly call the Justice over the Dallas Fuel, but, Justice still performing incredibly well. Obviously they fell to the Shock 3-2. But that's a 5-game push against the Shock, a team that a lot of people consider the best team, if not one of the best teams in the entire league. The Justice took them to 5 maps. They did fall short 3-2, so it drops them down. They did 3-0 Paris Eternal, and now they'll be going up against the Los Angeles Valiant. Oh man, it's a Thursday for sure. But Joey, I don't see this streak ending anytime soon. This is a completely transformed Washington Justice team. By far the most exciting team. And I'm not just saying that because Grant's in chat. I'm not saying that because we're local here to DC. I'm saying that because the turnaround this team has done this year alone with the entire mess of COVID and the complete schedule change and just the randomness that is the 2020 Overwatch League this year, the Justice have absolutely flipped the script on everyone. And like the Washington Post is even picking it up now. Kotaku is picking up articles on the Justice as well, talking about this amazing transformation. This Justice team is absolutely terrifying if they're taking the shock to 5 maps, and the Justice could have easily won that 5th map as well. So, I mean, this is a team that has completely flipped over what their strategy was. They went through a ton of roster moves, a lot of changes behind the scene, and now it's starting to pay off. The chemistry is there. They're clicking, and this team who won 4 games in the regular season has an opportunity to do something absolutely incredible, and that's the possibility of winning this league. It's absolutely insane when you think about that.
Yeah, absolutely. The Washington Justice is one of those teams that people have questioned their moves in the end of last season. Now in this season, we see new players coming in, a new GM coming in, a lot of major changes with the organization. But once again, when it comes to the end of the season, they are pulling it together. And not only that, but John, this year, now with contracts potentially being able to be moved forward into the next year, or at least a stable roster looking into next year, I think there's a lot of potential continuing moving forward, even past these playoffs for this organization. But shout out to Pri as well, coming in as the GM. He's done a phenomenal job. He's got this new roster. Again, they did end up going, I don't want to call it an all-Korean roster, but that's pretty much what we're looking at. A lot of Korean talent here. They're speaking now a native language for them. So it's one thing we've seen a lot in esports in general. When you have rosters, whether, especially in Europe, it's come up a lot, where different players will speak different languages, and it does end up with some, maybe not a translation barrier, but in-game barriers with the way communication happens. When you're looking at those split-second team fights in a League of Legends or an Overwatch, you have to be able to communicate effectively. So one thing we're seeing here is looking at not splitting up the language for this roster, but going completely Korean. And whether you go completely English, whether you go completely Korean, it doesn't matter. The fact is that everyone is on the same language page, and that is a huge, huge advantage when it comes to these fast-paced team fights end up playing out, the way the scrims end up playing out, the way game plans can be developed outside of the game itself. I like that. I think it's a huge move, and now we're seeing this roster finally start to come together. They've had a couple weeks. They've finally been able to play together in person as well. We're not past the COVID situation entirely, but at least past the little bump of COVID here for the Justice. Now, the other thing to look at, I think, is the way they've used Decay. So they picked up Decay right at the end of the year from the Dallas Fuel. He came over as a DPS player, and you're like, okay, how is he going to fit into the roster? Who's going to get bumped around? They actually ended up moving Roar as the tank into a substitute role. So now we're seeing Decay come in as a tank, and his Zarya, if I had to look at any single player to point out, it's got to be Decay on Zarya. He has been absolutely popping off in these games. I mean, as a tank, he's playing her just like a DPS, which is the way you want to play Zarya. You want to put out tons of damage. You want to build up that shield. Decay has done it over and over, game on top of game. And the way they're communicating as a team right now is next level. Like you said, a Justice team that comes in as the number 12 seed, and they already took the shock to 5 games in the second round, the number 2 seed overall, the winner of last season's championship. And yes, you can argue they don't have Sinatra anymore. That is definitely a dagger when it comes to their roster, but this is still a championship caliber roster with the shock. The Justice coming in here, taking them to 5 games is a huge statement. Not only that, but then they go down to this losers bracket and they take out Paris. Not only take out Paris by a little bit, the number 3 Paris Eternal fell 0-3 against the Justice. Now they set themselves up for a matchup against the Valiant. They are, again, the 12 seed up against the number 5 seed Valiant here. On top of them in the losers bracket is the number 4 seeded Florida Mayhem up against the number 7 Atlanta Reign. And in our winners bracket remaining is the Philadelphia Fusion as the number 1 seed overall up against the chalky number 2 seed in San Francisco, who almost fell to this Justice.
You know, Joe, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I think the Justice win here on out in the lower bracket. I think their next true competition is going to be the loser of that Fusion Shock matchup for the right to go to the finals there. I don't see LA giving him an issue. I don't see Atlanta or Florida giving him an issue. This Justice team with Decay playing the way he is, like, he feels like Decay was that missing link. Like, he comes in there and just everything just started clicking on all cylinders. It was a very impressive debut and continuing streak with Decay on the Justice. That was, talk about a massive signing for the Justice. This really changed everything for that team. Again, I just don't see a team giving them a real threat until they go up against the loser of the Fusion and Shock series. And I think then, if it happens to be the Shock, I think the Justice could easily take them in 5 maps again. I think the Justice could really shock the Overwatch world and punch their ticket into the finals here.
I'm not going to caster curse them. I'm not. I did end up predicting last week well, and it went very well for them. We're going to change it up a little bit this week. I'm also going to call them to make a run in the losers bracket, John. I think they will make it to the losers final pretty safely. Again, they're a number 12 seed, though, guys. They're coming in. They're the underdog. They have underdog status here, and that's one thing they definitely need to play on. They don't want to come in thinking they're favorites. They want to think they're underdogs like they've done before, but confident underdogs in that. I'm also curious to see how the week of rest goes, because you have all this momentum coming from that Dallas series right into that San Francisco series. Now you have that week of rest, and you have to kind of see how not only they plan for the matches ahead, but also how they manage that rest versus that momentum that they had going. So I'm going to go with you, John. I think they go all the way there. I'm curious to see who ends up in the lower bracket, if it's going to be Philly or San Francisco. I think that could be a difference maker. I think regardless of who goes down there, it will be a 3-1 to 5-game series potentially. It could be a 3-1 against the Justice, but I could also see the Justice pushing 5 games. And like you said, possibly really stunning the world even more for the Overwatch League and moving into the finals. Again, not going to predict it just yet, but I will go ahead and take them to the losers finals confidently. I think they have the talent to do it. And the damage that they've been putting out, both from the DPS role, the support roles, as well as that tank role with Decay on that Zarya, has been absolutely phenomenal. If they can keep that up, the pressure it puts on teams is overwhelming, and it really focuses them to adjust their tactics very quickly. Now that the Shock have been up against it, I think the Shock will come in a bit more prepared than they did previously. The Fusion, though, if they do meet the Fusion down here, I think they're in for a bit of a wake-up call.
Yeah, I think the Fusion would be the tougher matchup by far. I think if it is the Shock in the losers bracket final, I do see that possibly going in the favor of the Washington Justice. I feel like they've learned a lot from that third round matchup against them earlier. Again, taking them to 5 maps is really a massive feat for this team, considering several months ago this team was obviously a completely different roster. Really, you could say it was almost in shambles with the way it was playing, and then players departing. There was just a lot of turmoil that was going around, and this entire team turned it around to the point now they're 3-0ing, top of the table teams and taking the second best team to 5 maps. Again, not just because we're in DC, that we're talking about this. If any team in Overwatch League or any team in any league did what the Justice did this season in the Overwatch League, it's massive news. It is a massive turnaround for this organization to do what they have done to make this run so far. And yeah, Joey, again, we agree. We both see them going to the losers finals, and then we'll have to pick it up there because that's going to be their next real competition.
Absolutely. So again, they draw the Valiant next. And with that, we'll move over to Asia, John, to touch on briefly. It looks like we do have a couple matchups over there left in the winners bracket. The number 1 Shanghai Dragons up against the red hot Seoul Dynasty as the 5th seed. Seoul Dynasty coming off a 3-0 win over the Spark, as well as the Guangzhou Charge. The Shanghai Dragons on the opposite side coming in as that number 1 seed, pulling that bye before taking a 3-1 win over the usually popular New York Excelsior. In this matchup, John, I'm really not sure who to predict. I would have easily said Shanghai coming into this particular bracket, but with the way Seoul has been playing, they've really come on hot. I think I'm still going to take Shanghai, but I think I'm going to go 3-2. I think the Seoul could push them to 5 games.
Yeah, and I make no hidden issue with this, but Seoul Dynasty was my season 1 team before Washington Justice came into the scene. I would love to see Seoul Dynasty pull the upset against the Shanghai Dragons. The Shanghai Dragons, another team that made an amazing turnaround as an organization after season 1, after their historically bad performance in season 1, now a true powerhouse in the league. I think Shanghai does take it. I do think it goes 5 games, but I think the Red Hot Seoul Dynasty could pull a fast one here and take the upset over Shanghai.
And then in our other matchup, we have number 2 Guangzhou Charge up against the number 3 New York Excelsior. Who are you taking out of this matchup, John?
In the Asia bracket, New York's in there. I'm gonna go and take the Charge. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take a 3-1.
Yeah, I like the Charge as well. I think it could go 5 games, but I do see the Charge charging forth into the next round where they will lose to whoever loses in the Shanghai Seoul Dynasty matchup. I really think Shanghai and Seoul are the best 2 teams in this bracket, the way they're performing currently. And I really think what we're going to see this weekend is probably a look at the finals to come between those 2 teams. With that, John, I don't have any League of Legends because it's been a couple days since the finals, but if you want, we can briefly touch on LCS and LEC before we wrap up today's show. And we'll talk about Worlds next week, guys, because those teams are currently traveling over to China in Shanghai. I believe everyone's made it safely at this point. At least the LEC and LCS teams have, I believe. I'm assuming the Asian teams probably made a little bit easier of a time getting over there, but we'll have more updates on that come Monday.
Yeah, G2 winners in Europe, TSM, oh God, somehow managed to win in the LCS. That disgusts me. I don't understand how the LCS collapsed so hard to let TSM back in this. But yeah, somehow they won. They're on their way to Worlds. They're not gonna have to be in the play-in rounds, which is disturbing. But yeah, I think it's so far so good. I think there have been some shocks in who is actually going to be going to Worlds. Obviously, the 2 teams from Vietnam will not be able to travel. Historically speaking, the teams from Vietnam like to shake things up a little bit, and they can cause some bracket mayhem, if you will. And T1 from the LCK, Faker, not going to Worlds. I think that's another massive blow to the world scene. But Joey, like we've been talking, for several days now, there's a great possibility of a new world champion this go around for this Worlds. Now, yes, Fnatic is in there. Yes, they won season 1. A lot of people, again, there's a little asterisk there because Asia wasn't involved. But still, I mean, that's still a pretty hefty thing for Fnatic to carry on their back. But it's something that organization, I feel like, is up to the challenge for as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked about it last week. There's a good chance T1 is going to be the last team knocked out. And just like you said, Fnatic does come in with that World 1 title, but it was before Asia got involved. And when you look at every other single title following that first season, it's been won by an Asian team, whether it be South Korean, whether it be Chinese, whether it be Taiwanese, they have come out in force. So now we're seeing not only a reduction of previous world champions, but I think also the Asian scene in general is in a different place than it has been in recent years. One, you look at like the LPL, for example, they had to stop their season 3 times due to COVID throughout the season. Then you look at the LCK, I believe they stopped 2 times during the season. So when you have all these different pauses, I'm not going to say the players got out of shape because they're still scrimming, they're still playing solo queue, they're still keeping their mechanics up, but not playing on stage previously is one big difference. And 2, not getting that competition, like an on-stage competition, back to back to back, I think is a huge deal as well. Now, when it comes to Shanghai, to my knowledge, I believe they're going to play on a stage, but I don't think it's going to be in front of a crowd. So it's going to be similar to what we have kind of like in the NBA over here in the United States. They're playing in a bubble system. Everyone has to stay in a certain area of the city. And then on top of that, they're going in and they're playing without any kind of fans or audience in attendance, at least live there in the event. So that is a huge, huge difference. Because if you're a team like Fnatic, a team like TSM, a team like SKT or T1 now, you have tons of cheering. You have lots of people shouting out Faker, a lot of people shouting out Reckless. You have tons of people excited to see the team and making lots of energy and noise around it. Now to have those higher level teams or those more popular teams come in without that, I think is going to be a very big difference maker to how they perform on a world stage as well.
Now, are we going to see Riot and Worlds pull the same thing that we're seeing here in North America and really in Europe too when it comes to sporting events where they pump in fake crowd noise? Are we going to get fake League of Legends crowd noise where it could be 2 random teams in Asia playing and then all of a sudden the random TSM chants come in because, God forbid you go 3 seconds without thinking about that organization and have it being shoved in your face. But yeah, are we going to get fake crowd noise for Worlds this year?
I hope not. I really hope not. Like, give us a flamethrower. When the dragon spawns, a flamethrower goes off on the screen for viewers. I'm totally down for that. You can have your little AR dragon flying around. Totally down for that. I will even take a little bit of KDA here and there. I do not want fake crowd noise. I do not want little plastic fans standing up like we're looking at a FIFA game. I'm not a fan of that. I think it takes away from the gaming experience. And I am going to say that is more a boomer thing here in sports. And I really hope it does not come to esports, because I think Worlds is an amazing event in and of itself. If we really need to change the noise up, give us some voice comms from in-game that pop in here and there. Maybe play that Amazing World song that should be released any day now, Riot, hink, hink. I mean, there's different things that I think they can fill space with. I don't want the oohs, the ahs, the boos. I'd rather have that experience at home or at many little self-distanced watch parties.
All right. Cardboard cutout fans or no?
No, heck no. I don't want anything to do with that. Give me a banner of a fan in game next to that Tostinos banner or whatever else they're putting in there nowadays.
Oh, I love it.
Not a fan. So yeah, guys, like John said, G2 ended up winning 3-0 over Fnatic in the LEC finals. The teams going from Europe are going to be Fnatic, G2, Rogue, and Mad Lions. And then over in NA, unfortunately, Cloud9 just missing out this year, John. We do have TSM going alongside Team Liquid and FlyQuest over there. Again, TSM winning the finals 3-2 in that one over FlyQuest. A lot of people are bummed on Fnatic and FlyQuest. You lose a big series right in the championship. It's a huge deal. But again, FlyQuest took them to 5 games. And the G2 Fnatic series, yes, it did not go 5 games. It was a 3-0 in favor of G2. But if you guys got a chance to watch those first 2 games, they were on a nice edge. Easily could have gone either way. So I think as a Western fan, I'm not super happy about sending TSM, but hey, they've shown us that they can come back from a playoff bracket. I think that is a big resume to bring over to a Worlds competition. But I think Western League of Legends right now could be doing pretty decently come Worlds, especially with all the pauses and breakups of the season that the Chinese and South Korean scenes had to meet, alongside the level of play that the European scene, and we'll even throw in the North American scene, that have put together at the end of the season here to really make their name known.
First off, any LCS fan will tell you an LCS team in Worlds not named Cloud9 means absolutely nothing. Considering Cloud9's been the only team to actually have success in Worlds when it comes to the LCS. So, NA fans, congratulations. We'll all be rooting for European teams, because we all know no one from the LCS will make us proud.
Okay, you're toxic. We're going to be rooting for Western teams here
toxic.
on the Level Up podcast.
No, we will root for Western teams based in Europe. That's essentially what's going to happen here, because there is no way TSM is going to do anything. There's no team, Joey, you heard it here first, from the LCS will do anything. There's no way. There's no way. Even with all the breaks in there, I just don't see it. The quality of play in the LCS is nowhere where it needs to be. You can make the argument one of the best teams this year in Cloud9. Yes, they fell off towards the end of the summer split. Yes, they didn't perform well in the playoffs. They ran away with spring split. They ran away with most of the summer split before they fell off at the last several weeks. One of the best teams in North America is not going to Worlds, and instead we're getting TSM, FlyQuest, and Team Liquid. I'm sorry. I can't be excited about that. I'm sorry. I want NA to do well. I want the LCS to do well. I just don't see it.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't see it either.
Yeah.
Like, if I had to pick 3 teams from these 7 teams going from Western League of Legends, I would think I'd pick G2, Fnatic, and Rogue. I think those are the 3 teams that have the most, let's say, possibility, or at least the probability maybe of doing well. Let's go probability. I think if it's percentage based, I think those are the 3 teams that have a higher percentage of going up against some of these bigger Asian teams and possibly taking a game or 2 off them to advance from the group stage to the quarterfinals. Now, with that being said, we are North American based, and I'm still going to be rooting for Team Liquid and FlyQuest. And yeah, even TSM.
Nope.
I will be hoping that they win their matches against anyone but Fnatic, because I will be a little Fnatic stan when it comes to World. But yeah, overall, I really think, like I said, the fact that Asia has gone through so much with COVID and with so many pauses and stands and practices and changes in schedules, I don't know if it's necessarily going to impact the meta as much coming from those regions. But when it comes down to the actual practice and in-game competitions, I think it is going to be a big factor that could potentially come up here. So I don't want to say that North American teams, to give any false hope, I don't know if they're going to have a ton of potential, but I think there is a potential for some upsets here and there. Again, if I do have to pick just a couple teams of the top 3 in Europe, definitely look the most appetizing to bet on.
The only teams to bet on.
Yeah, I would not put any money on NA teams at all.
Thank you.
Let's make that clear.
Your false hope is beyond false. It is.
I want to have hope for these teams. I would not put money on my hope for these teams, except for those European ones.
No, I can't. Look, I would no. It doesn't even come down to being a Cloud9 fan. There's no way. There's no way. All three teams that made it there for LCS are just a roller coaster of hot mess. And even on their peaks, even when they're at their best, I don't see them overcoming Europe. I don't see them overcoming China. I don't see them overcoming Korea. I don't see them overcoming anyone. Like,
I think they could take some of the smaller regions down. For example, the NA team in play-ins, I think will win their way into the actual group stage. I think that's very doable.
I believe
will they do well in the group stage? If you count fourth as well, then yes. If you count third as well, tiny little morsel of a possibility. But yeah, coming out of the stage as the NA teams, I think it's going to be very, very difficult this year. But again, when it comes to play-ins, I think they will do well. So if you count that as like a mini Worlds, then yeah, they can advance a little bit. Squirkle in chat does bring up a good point as well, though. I have to root against an A, especially when 4 to 5 of the teams is imports.
Yeah.
And he makes a good point. I mean, when you look at these rosters for NA, there are very few actual North American-based players on these rosters. A lot of these players coming over from Europe, some of these players coming from South Korea as well. Very, very few actually North American-based players on these rosters, as a lot of the more NA-based rosters have already been eliminated.
Yeah, and the North American team in the play-ins is Team Liquid. And I think Squirkle makes another valid point. Team Liquid is a coin flip. They have the talent. On paper, they're a great team. But the problem is they don't always play like that. It took them forever to come online in the summer split. They didn't play that well until the end of the second half of the split. They performed decently in the playoffs, but at the end of the day, they're the number 3 seed. And, you know, I mean, I'm wearing a Team Liquid jersey right now. Like I would like to see Team Liquid, just because of Jensen and Impact on the team, to do well. I would like to see both of those players do well. I have a lot of respect for Jensen and Impact, but I can't. I just, after the play-in here, I think Team Liquid can get out of the play-in stage. I really do. I think Team Liquid's built to get out of there. I think they have a very, very good opportunity to get out of there. But again, they have to be the Team Liquid that plays like they should be able to play. It can't be this week 4 Team Liquid that was absolutely horrific. It has to be the best version of themselves, even in the play-in, to make their way out. So I think Team Liquid can do it, but after that, I don't see a North American team making it out of groups. Not a single one.
I mean, one more point on Team Liquid too, guys. If you look at their roster, it is full of Worlds finalists.
Yes.
Broxa was a Worlds finalist. He's been to quarters as well before that. He's been to semis as well. Broxa has been to Worlds many times with Fnatic. You look at Impact. He ended up being a champion with T1 at the time, SK Telecom T1. Then you look at the bot lane with Core JJ. He was a champion as well. He won with Samsung White, I believe, at the time. Or Samsung Galaxy might have been the team he was with, one of the Samsung teams. You look at Jensen. Jensen went to the semifinals of Cloud9. Like, this is a team that has been with many of their players making it to the semifinals in very high heated Worlds competition. And then you look at Tactical. If I'm going to put money on anyone on this roster, it's actually Tactical. I think this rookie has extreme potential. And I love the fact that instead of buying players over and over like we've typically seen from Team Liquid and League of Legends, they're now starting to invest in younger talent. As C9 has shown us time and time again, that is definitely a big way to make big impact when it comes, big impact, no pun intended there actually, to make impacts when it comes to the NA scene. So now that Tactical is coming up here as this young up and coming rookie, I think he has lots of potential to catch people off guard. There's not much tape on him in a sense. There's not a ton to review outside of what you might see in solo queue over in China while they're practicing, or maybe in scrims, depending who they scrim. I think he can really come out and ring people's clock. I think he can come out and really surprise a lot of 80 carries, especially Asian 80 carries, based on his mechanical talent. So I do think Team Liquid has potential. Again, it's going to be very steep to come out of a group, past the play-in stage, that is. But with the amount of experience they have on that roster, if they can find how to turn it on at the right moment come Worlds, I think there is the potential to make at least a little bit of a run from that team.
Yeah, I think if any team has the potential of doing something, it's going to be Team Liquid. I don't see it in TSM. I don't see it in FlyQuest. TSM, no, I'm not TSM. Team Liquid, again, from all those points you just made, Joey, the fact that there is so much experience on this team of former world champions, of former players who have done incredibly well at Worlds, there's really no excuse, again, for this team not to perform well. They have the experience. They're not like a rookie team that is going into Worlds saying, hey, we're just happy to be here. You know, they've been here before. They won it. They're hungry for success. And for the LCS, they're hungry for a team not named Cloud9 to do something at Worlds. And I would love to see Team Liquid do something. I would love to see any of the NA teams actually do something in Worlds. But I just, again, outside of Team Liquid, I don't think there's any hope. And even the hope for Team Liquid is still pretty small. Because they've shown to be that inconsistent. So Joey, to come full circle, I am Team Western Hemisphere. I think the West has a good opportunity, but the West, I want to narrow it down a little bit more to that other continent called Europe, because that's going to be our only open Worlds.
With that, sir, we have a lot of great esports action ahead. Again, guys, the Gears esports meeting is tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time. If you guys want to check that out for that European scene as well, and a lot of other great esports competition to come. Hopefully a world song from Riot Games too in the near future. With that, Jod, go ahead and take us into that lovely closing.
Let's see if I don't name drop TSM in this whole thing. Well, Nation, we're ending it on a somber note there if you're an LCS fan. Nation, that will do it for the Thursday edition of Level Up Live. But before you go, head on over to patreon.com/OTN and consider becoming a part of the Overtime Network. In return, you'll get access to exclusive content that nobody else in the world can get, unless they are a part of OTN Media. If you haven't already, make sure you follow the show here on Twitch to catch the next episode of Level Up Live. If you listen to the show on our podcast feed, leave us a review. I don't want to sound needy or anything, but reviews are pretty awesome. The podcast is available on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. We would love to hear from you. In fact, we love to hear from our community so much, Joey. There's multiple ways they can get a hold of us. Joey, where else can the Level Up Nation go to interact with us in the show?
Level Up Nation, follow the podcast on Twitter at Level Up Live. That is LvL UP Live. In addition to that, you can follow the umbrella company OTN Media on Twitter and Facebook as well at OTN Media, and on Instagram at OTN_media. Last but not least, we stream regularly on Twitch. Hit us with a beautiful follow, maybe even a sub too. That's twitch.tv/OTN Media. Come join us live Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time for the podcast, with a nice variety of streams as well throughout the week from us and other streamers at OTN.
All right, Joe's just quickly throwing up all the Nightbot stuff there in chat. But Nation, make sure you tune in this upcoming Monday, September 14th, as we cover the latest and greatest in gaming and esports news. Do your ears and eyes a favor, slap that sub button or follow button here on Twitch. You know when the next episode of Level Up Live is ready for your viewing pleasure. We will catch you all Monday. Have a great weekend. Remember, be nice to your fellow gamers online, and as always,
level up.